On the night of August 8, 2013, Brandon Lawson made a phone call to 911. His voice was panicked, disoriented, slurred, but not drunk. He said he was in the middle of a field, that someone was chasing him, and then the call cut off. That would be the last time anyone would hear Brandon Lawson's voice. Brandon was 26 years old, father of 4, a roughneck working in the oil fields of San Angelo, Texas. And on that night, he got into an argument with his longtime girlfriend, Elisa. He left the house around 11:50 p.m., claiming that he needed to clear his head. He grabbed his keys, his phone, and vanished into the night. At 12:50 a.m., Brandon dialed 911. His words are broken, fragmented. The dispatcher can barely understand him. For one thing is clear. Brandon believes someone was after him.
9/2013 0:50 and 38 seconds.
911 emergency.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. The tape was just pushed some guys over. Right here going towards gasoline on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. The guys taking to the woods. Quick burning.
Okay, now run that by
The one I'm talking to him, I surely ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him. Okay.
That's the first guy.
You need an ambulance?
Yeah, no, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello? Hello?
A few minutes after the call, Brandon's brother Kyle arrives, finds Brandon's truck, empty. The doors are unlocked. No sign of Brandon, no footprints, no blood. Just a pickup on the side of the road, and silence. Kyle receives a call from Brandon shortly after. And then, nothing. What happened in that field? Was Brandon hallucinating? He had taken methamphetamine days prior, but his behavior didn't match a typical high. Was he being chased? He mentioned the state trooper pulled some guys over, but there was no traffic stop in the area that night. But the most unsettling part was, Brandon kept calling people for nearly an hour after the 911 call. He was alive, out there, and terrified. In February of 2022, nearly 9 years later, Brandon's remains were found just 1,000 feet from where his truck was abandoned, hidden in a dense bush, alongside articles of clothing and his cell phone. No trauma was visible, and the cause of death was undetermined. Brandon Lawson died out there in the field. But not immediately. He called for help, he described people chasing him, and for almost an hour, he was alive in the dark, with no one coming fast enough. And to this day, what really happened to Brandon Lawson remains a mystery. Emma Fillipoff was a poet, photographer, and a drifter with a kind heart. On the evening of November 28, 2012, she stood barefoot in the cold outside of the Empress Hotel and vanished. And what followed wasn't just a missing persons case, it was unraveling of a deeply tangled story involving paranoia, alleged stalkers, shady acquaintances, and a cryptic, possibly planned departure. She was trying to escape. What was she running from? Or worse, who was she waiting for? Emma had only arrived in Victoria the year before, drifting through shelters, couch surfing, and briefly working at a seafood stand by the water. She wasn't homeless, but she wasn't stable either. Those closest to her say she was deeply private, unreachable even. She kept journals of full poetry, full of longing and distance. She had friends, but always seemed to live just outside their grasp. The weeks before she vanished, Emma began making strange, contradictory phone calls to her mother, first asking for help, then pleading for space, with her final words being, "I don't know how I can face you." She moved her van to a hotel parking lot and filled it with her belongings, books, photos, her passport, and pillows, as if preparing to leave Victoria for good. But on the day she vanished, she did something else. Security footage shows her entering and exiting a 7-Eleven 3 times, and each time she glances behind her, checking and watching. Was she paranoid, or was she being followed? She bought a prepaid credit card and a prepaid phone. The phone was never activated, and the card was later found discarded and used by a stranger. Around 6 p.m., Emma was seen walking barefoot near Douglas Street. She hailed a taxi and asked to go to the airport, but got out early, saying she didn't have the fare, which was odd considering she had $200 on a prepaid card she had just bought. Shortly after, a man named Dennis Quay spotted her again. He claimed she was in distress. She had no shoes, was trembling, pacing. He walked with her for nearly an hour, but the route they took was only a few blocks long. Something had her spiraling. He eventually called the police, and they spoke to Emma for 45 minutes, but they saw no reason to detain her. She was released, and that would be the last confirmed sighting of Emma. There's no clean theory here, only a scattered timeline filled with missing pieces and characters that feel like it was pulled straight from a film. A man was seen tearing down her missing poster in Vancouver and claimed she wasn't missing and was his girlfriend who hated her parents. Some speculate she was involved with someone online, possibly a manipulated rescuer, who took advantage of her mental state and lured her into disappearing willingly. Others believe she ran afoul of someone in a shady underground Emma had allegedly worked for in the past, which was an unlicensed business and had been in circles involving illegal drug activity. Maybe someone wanted her gone. One woman claims she saw Emma days later, barefoot and confused near a harbor. Others believe she made it off the island entirely and lives under a new identity. Emma's family and friends launched extensive campaigns to find her, yet not everyone was involved. Her father and her siblings kept distant, but her mother Shelley has never stopped searching. Even investigated false taxi companies, shady acquaintances, possibly stalkers, claiming that there's far more to this case than the police had ever admitted. Emma Fillipoff was waiting for someone that night. Maybe a friend, maybe a predator, maybe no one at all. Whatever she was waiting for, she's never come back from it. October 8th, 2009. A family of 3, Bobby, Sherilyn, and their 6-year-old daughter Madison, load up in their white pickup truck and drive deep into the Oklahoma mountains. They're heading to look at a plot of land they wanted to buy, but they never would return. Days later, the truck is found abandoned, locked. Inside is their dog, barely alive, $32,000 in cash, cell phones, IDs, a GPS, and a suitcase full of clothes, but with no people. The Jamison family had suddenly vanished. From the outside, the Jamisons look like any other American family, but according to friends and relatives, something wasn't right. They'd recently withdrawn from everyone around them. Sherilyn was said to be suffering from severe depression, and Bobby had suffered a back injury and was on disability, often isolated. They claimed their house was haunted, as spirits would whisper to Madison. Bobby even asked a local pastor for special bullets to exorcise spirits from their home. They weren't just paranoid, they believed something evil was attached to them. The surveillance camera at their home shows Bobby and Sherilyn packing their truck methodically in silence, back and forth for about 20 minutes straight. They never spoke, never made eye contact. It looked rehearsed or disassociated. It's not clear why they were bringing $32,000 in cash, or why they brought no food or supplies. Their behavior was detached, like they were already gone. For years, the case remained frozen. No ransom, no sightings, no phone or bank activity. Just that locked truck and a desolate back road. Then in 2013, 4 years later, partial skeletal remains of 3 family members were found just 3 miles from where the truck was abandoned. No cause of death could be determined. They weren't buried, they had simply collapsed there. This would make theories explode. Was it a murder suicide? There was no weapon. A drug deal gone bad. The money points that way, but they had no criminal history. One theory suggests Sherilyn had written disturbing things in her diary, including death wishes. Others point to a bitter lawsuit Bobby had filed against his father over stolen money and threats of violence. None of that explains why they brought their daughter along with them, and why they would vanish without a trace for 4 years in such a small area. Investigators found no footprints, no sign of struggle, and no injuries on the bones. The Jamisons didn't just disappear because of what they were running from. They disappeared possibly from what they believed. On February 9th, 2004, a nursing student named Maura Murray crashes her car on a New Hampshire road. A witness calls the police. She tells them she's fine. But when the cops arrive, Maura is gone, just like that. The car was locked. The airbags had been deployed. Inside the car was her gloves, school books, and a box of wine, some of it being spilled. Her debit card, credit cards, and cell phone were never seen again. Maura Murray seemed like she had it all together. She was a top student, an athlete, and enrolled in nursing school at the University of Massachusetts. But in the days leading up to her disappearance, revealed cracks in a picture-perfect image. She got in trouble for using stolen credit cards. She crashed her father's car 2 nights before her disappearance. Then she emailed her professors claiming there was a death in the family, even though there wasn't. She withdrew nearly $300 from her bank account, packed her things, and vanished northbound. So what was she running from? And who was she running towards? Maura never told anyone where she was going. But sometime that afternoon, she drove over 100 miles north to a remote stretch of Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. And around 7:30 p.m., residents reported a car crash. Maura's Saturn had veered off the road. A neighbor offered to help, and she declined. By the time police arrived, 10 minutes later, she had vanished into the cold. Police assumed she got lost in the woods, but search dogs lost her scent within 100 feet. And a witness said that she may have gotten into another car. And then there was a strange rag stuffed into the car's tailpipe as if someone tried to disable the vehicle. This is when theories would emerge. Did she stage her disappearance? Was she meeting someone? Was it foul play? Her father believes she was abducted. Others think she had a mental breakdown. But no evidence, no phone pings, credit card usage, or physical remains was ever found. In the years since, Maura's case had only gotten stranger, and there were alleged sightings of her in Canada. Online forums obsessed over her case. Some even targeted her family. In 2017, ground-penetrating radar found something suspicious in a nearby basement, but it turned out to be nothing. 20 years later, the case remains unsolved. Was Maura running from something, or did she run straight into the danger? Maura didn't leave a note, she didn't leave a plan, she just drove into the snow and vanished. In January of 2013, a 21-year-old student named Elisa Lam checked into the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. A week later, she was gone. Elisa was traveling alone from Canada, taking a West Coast trip by bus and train. Her Tumblr blog painted a picture of a thoughtful, introspective woman dealing with depression and bipolar disorder, but nothing suggested what was coming. She checked into the Cecil, a hotel with a past soaked in tragedy. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, had stayed there. Countless suicides, overdoses, and acts of violence sustained the walls for over a decade. It was the kind of place people stayed in when they had nowhere else to go. Lisa was supposed to check out on January 31st, but she never did. She never left. This is the last known footage of Elisa Lam, captured by security camera in one of the Cecil's elevators. She presses every button, peeks into the hallway, hides, and gestures strangely at something off screen. And at one point, she seems to even be communicating, yet no one else appears. She moves with a mix of panic and detachment. Her body language flickers between fear, confusion, and something unnameable. 19 days later, guests of the Cecil began complaining about the water. It was discolored, it tasted strange, and it had low pressure, so maintenance checked it out. And inside one of the rooftop water tanks, floating face up, was the body of Elisa Lam. To reach the tank, she would have to unlock an alarm door, climb a staircase, and lift a heavy lid, all alone, and she was found naked with her clothes being at the bottom of the tank. There were no signs of trauma, no drugs, no alcohol, and her death was ruled an accidental drowning. But no one believed it was that simple. Some people even believe she was playing the elevator game. A supposed Korean urban legend said to unlock a doorway to another world, and to play you must follow a ritual. Enter alone, press the floors in the right order, and on the 5th floor, someone may enter. But they're not human. If you speak to them, you're lost. Some see the game as a metaphor, a descent into delusion, but others aren't so sure. Some say she was stalked or murdered, despite the autopsy showing no clear signs of assault. Others point to her history of bipolar disorder and believe she suffered a psychotic episode, and perhaps she removed her clothes due to hypothermia and entered the tank willingly. But nothing explains how the lid was closed after her body was inside. The Cecil Hotel is a building that devours stories. Its past is riddled with suicide, murder, mental illness, and despair. Elisa Lam's death became its most viral legend. But she wasn't the first. She most likely won't be the last.